There's a trend that's been happening in the music industry, and I'm sure you've seen it on your social feeds. There's a guy standing and a car's coming. The car seems like it hits him. He falls to the ground, camera turns, and he's singing to you. This will live as such a fad and such a trendy thing that we'll look back on it and be like, oh, that was such like a 2024, 2025 thing to do. It's trying to hack attention. Your numbers are going up on the little view count, but I can tell you from being on the other side of that and through experience that it really doesn't mean anything and it doesn't equate to fans. And I can guarantee you that song that artist is singing is actually a pretty bad song. It's like a C- song, a D- idea, and an A- attempt to hack attention. And then you go to the page, it's all over the place. There's no cohesion, there's no brand, there's no world for fans to come into. There's no like quick way for us to understand who you are and actually what you stand for besides trying to hack my attention. And I can tell you that as a fan and as somebody who is chronically online, that just feels gross now. And I think that fans are way smarter than you give them credit for. The fans can see through the curtain, and that there's no real identity in that. And it's starting to feel needy, like a oh, please notice me. There's something about artists, real artists are magnetic. They do something. They walk into a room and they don't ask people for attention. They don't say, notice me, because that does the opposite of a magnet and that repels. What I would recommend that you would be better off doing than taking all of that time to figure out hooks for your TikToks in order to inflate your numbers so people think your music is great, so people think your art is great, is I would take that same time and attention and I would put that into the actual creating of the art. I am so glad that I did not grow up in this era because I would be so focused on those numbers instead of actually getting good at my instrument, actually getting good at writing music, actually getting good at like delivering a solid album. I think that where you can really win at social media is, yeah, you can do that stuff. You can hack attention, but like if your song is phenomenal and it ties in with your branding and it all just feels so cohesive, I think that's when you can win doing that kind of content. There's nothing wrong with making that kind of content, but I see so many young artists trying to go viral and they will have a spike in their views and then they'll get some followers and then what? Nothing. Because that piece of content has nothing to do with who you actually are. Is your music good? No, your content is good. Now imagine that you're walking through somewhere and you see a magician and he's got sparks flying out of his fingers and he's screaming, look at this, look at this, look at this. You're instantly going to look at him and then you're going to look away. That 3 seconds is the view that you're counting on your content, but you don't see the look away part. If that magician, he just stood there in a crowd and he just held out something that seemed so impossible, like a rose was floating above his hand and he didn't say a single thing. People could come up and try and do this and they wouldn't be able to figure out how the rose is floating. It would draw people in. It would start this magnetism effect. And I don't like to see people waste their time because I feel like I low-key wasted a ton of my time in my 20s. And as a 35-year-old looking back at it, spending the last 10, 15 years in the music industry, I wish I knew these things. And this doesn't just apply to music. It could be any form of art. And now here's something that I want to leave you with. A weak song with 1 million views is still a weak song. But a great song multiplied by 10 real listeners who will listen again and again and again and again are far more valuable than 1 million people scrolling by a weak song. And the moment that you stop pushing outward, saying, notice me, notice me, notice me, and you stand in your identity, you start to create something that means something, that is beautiful, that is spectacular, that you worked so hard on and you know is great. You flip the polarity, you become the negative charge, and it acts like a vacuum. And people are pulled into your orbit without you saying a single word. I think that the people that will win in an oversaturated market are the true artists that will think about their content as an extension of their art. You figure out how to extend the message of your song through an artful visual presentation, will actually see the content and go and hit that follow button and become fans and want to come to your shows. Make art that is undeniable. Make that your number one goal. Then figure out a way to promote it. No trickery, no fake skits. You can let the art be the vehicle that gathers the attention because it's just great. And this is advice that I wish I had heard in my 20s, because all I cared about was touring, and I was worried about going on the road and touring the music, and making the songs great would have gotten me tours, and I had my logic backwards. So remember to make great art and the world will listen. It's that simple. It's actually very hard, but it is that simple.